one of your instructors for today's lesson. So despite of this pandemic, still our desire to learn will not be dampened by this COVID-19 virus. Am I right? So class, I would like to ask you if you already encountered or if you have any idea about constructivism. I guess you have the idea about it. So before we proceed to our discussion, let's define first what is constructivism. Constructivism is a theory and education that recognizes learners to construct new understanding and knowledge integrated with what they already know. This includes knowledge acquired and learning. So, with this definition, we can simply explain that it equates learning with creating learning through experiences. We know that learning is more meaningful to students when they are able to interact with a problem or concept. And also, this will help them to engage and motivate their students by making them take more active role in learning process. Constructivism is a sort of learner-centered kind of teaching, wherein the teacher will let his students to discover possible solution in a specific scenario. I have here a picture that shows the process of constructivism. So for example, your teacher asked your group to do a role play about behavioral learning theory. So bibigyan na kayo ng topic, then go, bahala na kayo. Kayo na yung bahala gumawa ng scenario which is related to the topic. Though, para makaka-complex isang scenario, of course, you will mag-brainstorming muna kayo to collect different ideas para makaform ng isang scenario which is related to the behavioral learning theory. So, after nun, nakakollect na kayo ng mga ideas, then you will now present or perform it to the class. With this, parang we construct different ideas to perform a new one or a new scenario. So, class, as what I have said earlier, role-playing and learning groups or workshop are some example of constructivism. Why role-playing and why workshop? Role-playing allows students or your children to gain a better understanding of any given scenario or a given topic because it gives them the opportunity to see things from a new perspective and use their minds to work through them. With this, makikita natin yung constructivism process, right? Second is the learning groups or workshop. Brainstorming is the best example here. We can come up in a new idea or we can construct a new idea by collecting their different thoughts and opinion about a certain problem, right? Dito rin makikita yung constructivism process. So class, the next slide is the history of constructivism. So constructivism can be traced back to educational psychology in the work of Jean Piaget, identified with Piaget theory of cognitive development. So there are 4 stages that Jean Piaget discovered. Piaget focused on how humans make meaning in relation to the interaction between their experiences and their ideas. His views tended to focus on human development in relation to what is occurring with an individual as distinct from development influenced by other persons. So for example, when you are innovating a new product, of course, before you innovate a product, you need first to discover what would be the possibilities para mas mapa-enhance pa yung isang bagay. For example, yung pancit canton, syempre, hindi naman itong agad-agad innovate agad. Syempre, they will need first to collect different ideas na para mas mapaiba pa, para mas mapabago pa yung concept. Pero pag nag-construct sila ng idea pa, ano mas papagod pa sa mga consumers. So, Piaget's theory of cognitive development influenced by other persons. The basis of this constructivism is based on his 4 stages of human development. So parang mas natututo yung tao through their experiences. Mas nakaka-discover pa sa new form of knowledge when they are constructing different ideas. For example, brainstorming, syempre,
napaka-important ng brainstorming para maka-come up with a new knowledge and a new idea. To clearly understand, he wants to convey us that constructivism's central idea is that human learning is constructed, that learners build new knowledge upon the foundation of previous learning. This prior knowledge influences what new or modified knowledge an individual will construct from new learning experiences.
Constructivist theory. The constructivist theory is based around the idea that learners are active participants in their learning journey. Knowledge is constructed based on experiences. As events occur, each person reflects on their experience and incorporates the new ideas with their prior knowledge. Learners develop schemas to organize acquired knowledge. This model was entrenched in learning theories by Dewey, Piaget, Vygotsky, Gagne, and Brunner. The theory of constructivist learning is vital to understanding how students learn. The idea that students actively construct knowledge is central to constructivism. Students add or build their new experiences on top of the current foundation of understanding. As stated by Woolfolk, 1993, learning is active mental work, not passive reception of teaching. As an educator, it is important to understand the theory of constructivist learning. Each student that enters your classroom has a unique perspective on life that has been created by their unique experiences. This will impact their learning. If the basis of the constructivist theory states that students construct new knowledge on what they have already had, the entry point of their learning journey is of utmost importance. Learning theories are as valuable as credentials to educators. It is important to understand what will affect the learning journey of your students.
Constructivist learning intervention. Social constructivism views each learner as a unique individual with unique needs and backgrounds. The learner is also seen as complex and multidimensional. Social constructivism not only acknowledges the uniqueness and complexity of the learner, but actually encourages, utilizes, and rewards it is an integral part of the learning process. The importance of the background and culture of the learner. Gradler 1997 also emphasizes the importance of the background and culture of the learner. Social constructivism encourages the learner to arrive at his or her own version of the truth, influenced by his or her background, culture, or embedded worldview. Historical development and symbol systems such as language, logic, and mathematical systems are inherited by the learner as a member of a particular culture, and these are learned throughout the learner's life. These symbol systems dictate how the learner learns and what is learned. This also stresses the importance of the nature of the learner's social interaction with knowledgeable members of the society. Without the social interaction and other more knowledgeable people, it is impossible to acquire the social meaning of important symbol systems and learn how to utilize them. Young children develop their thinking abilities by interacting with adults. From the social constructivist viewpoint, it is thus important to take into account the background and culture of the learner throughout the learning process, as this background also helps to shape the knowledge and the truth that the learner creates, discovers, and attains in the learning process. Next is the responsibility per learning. Furthermore, it is argued that the responsibility of learning should reside increasingly with the learner. Social constructivism thus emphasizes the importance of the learner being actively involved in the learning process. Unlike previous educational viewpoints, where the responsibility rested with the instructor to teach and where the learner played a passive and receptive role. Von Glaserfield 1989 emphasizes that learners construct their own understanding and that they not simply mirror and reflect what they read. Learners look for meaning and will try to find regularity and order in the events of the world, even in the absence of full or complete information. Next, the motivation for learning. Another crucial assumption regarding the nature of learner concerns the level and source of motivation for learning. According to von Glaserfield, 1989, sustaining motivation to learn is strongly independent of the learner's confidence in his or her potential for learning. These feelings of competence and belief in potential to solve new problems are derived from first-hand experience of mastery of problems in the past and are much more powerful than any external acknowledgement and motivation. This links up with Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, where learners are challenged within, yet slightly above their current level of development. By experiencing the successful completion of challenging tasks, learners gain confidence and motivation to embark on more complex challenges.
Constructivist in pedagogy suggests that learning is accomplished best using a hands-on approach. Learners learn by experimentation, not by being told what will happen, and left to make their own inferences, discoveries, and conclusions. Himlo, Silver, Duncan, and Chin cites studies supporting the success of constructivism problem-based and inquiry learning methods. In most constructivism pedagogies, the teacher's role includes not only observing and assessing students, but also engaging with them while they are completing activities, wondering aloud, and asking them questions to promote reasoning. For example, promotion of literacy is accomplished by integrating the need to read and write throughout individual activities within print-rich classroom. The teacher, after reading the story, encouraged the student to write or draw stories of their own, or by having the student reenact a story that they may know well. Both activities encourage the student to conceive themselves as a reader and writers.
Criticism of educational constructivism. Critics have voiced the following arguments against the constructivist based on teaching and instructions. A group of cognitive scientists has also questioned the central claims constructivism, saying that they are either misleading or contradict known findings. One possible deterrent for this teaching method is that due to the emphasis on group work, the ideas of the more active students may dominate the group's conclusions. Students, especially elementary, are naturally curious about the world, and giving them the tools to explore, and it serves them to a stronger understanding of it. Mayer 2004 developed a literature review. This research shows that the formula constructivism is a hands-on activity. His argument is that active learning educators produce materials that require learning to be behaviorally active and not to be cognitively active, although they are engaged in activity that they may not be learning. But Mayer recommends that using guided discovery, a mix of direct instructions and hands-on activity, because guided discovery appears to offer the best method for promoting constructivist learning. Kirchner 2006 agree of the basic premise constructivism that learners construct knowledge. The constructivist descriptions of learning is accurate, but instructional consequences suggested by constructivists do not necessarily follow. Specifically, they say instructors often design unguided instructions that relies on learners to discover or construct essential information for themselves.
The constructivist or cognitive developmental stream is based on the idea that the dialectic or interactionist process of development and learning through the student's active construction should be facilitated and promoted by adults. Whereas, the romantic maturationist stream is based on the idea that the student's naturally occurring development should be allowed to flower without adult interventions in a permissive environment.
Constructivism in the classroom. In the constructivist classroom, the focus tends to shift from the teacher to the students. The classroom is no longer a place where the teacher, expert, pours knowledge into passive students who wait like empty vessels to be filled. In the constructivist model, the students are urged to be actively involved in their own process of learning. Both teacher and students think of knowledge as a dynamic, ever-changing view of the world we live in and the ability to successfully stretch and explore that view, not as inert factoids to be memorized. The main activity in a constructivist classroom is solving problems. Students use inquiry methods to ask questions, investigate a topic, and use a variety of resources to find solutions and answers. As students explore the topic, they draw conclusions, and as exploration continues, they revisit those conclusions. Exploration of questions leads to more questions.
The roles of the teachers. First, the educator should consider the knowledge and experiences students bring to class. Because students enters the school with a pre-existing knowledge and personal experiences, and with this, the educator can assess what and how to teach such students in this matter. 2. Learners construct their knowledge through a process of active inquiry. A student is learning, and in the process of learning, students tend to ask questions and queries with regards to something they do not understand. And in these situations, it is the educator's responsibility to answer these questions in order for the students to further comprehend such complicated things. This allows students to build knowledge through explorations, experience, and discussion. 3. Discovery is facilitated by providing the necessary resources. Since knowledge is actively constructed, learning is portrayed as an active discovery process. Rather, the teacher's responsibility is to support discovery by providing the appropriate tools and mentoring students as they strive to integrate new and old knowledge and alter the old to suit the new. 4. Knowledge is actively constructed and learning is presented as a process of active discovery. Learning is a process of acquisitions of knowledge, so knowledge is acquired after learning. So, it is essential for our teacher and ask their learners to elect prior knowledge and create cognitive dissonance, apply the knowledge with feedback, and reflect on learning. 5. Provide assistance with assimilations of new and old knowledge. Teachers can help learners to improve through various ways. They should set high expectations. When they set high expectations, it will enable them as a teachers to achieve high academic standards for their learners. They should adopt different learning styles, and through this, I believe that learners will learn at a greater rate. 6. Learning programs should be sufficiently flexible to permit development along lines of student inquiry. Flexible learning refers to ability to customize one's pace, place, and mode of learning. With pace, for example, student may take accelerated programs or engage in a part-time learning to ensure they have time to work on the side. 7. Due to its interpretivist nature, each student will interpret informations in different ways. A teacher must be open to wide range of interpretations, and interpretations on something may vary from a student to another one, and it is the teacher's duty to appreciate this, and along with it is to correct students if the information is misinterpreted. 8. Create situations where the students feel safe questioning and reflecting on their own process. Teachers can create a safer environment for students by providing challenging curricula that allows learners to engage with diverse perspectives, practices, and higher-level analytical skills, engage in respectful debates and discussions with peers, develop emotional intelligence, and reflect on their own attitudes and identities. 9. Present authentic tasks to contextualize learning through real-world, case-based learning environment. To contextualize instructing and learning, an instructor should recognize parts of students' experience which will give a significant asset of a fundamental ideas, analogies to which the substance of educational plan can be connected. 10. Support collaborations in constructing knowledge, not competition. Because in learning, collaborations with peers or classmates makes the students easier to observe. The lessons or topic competitions has negative effect in learning because first, competitions often makes kids anxious and that interferes with concentrations. Second, competitions doesn't permit them to share their talents and resources as cooperations. 11. Encourage development through intersubjectivity. Intersubjectivity in development has also been used to describe the common sense, shared meanings that the individuals generate in their context with one another and utilize as an everyday resource to interpret the meaning of parts of social and cultural life. If people have common sense, they will have a common definitions of the scenario. 12. Providing scaffolding at the right time and the right level. Scaffolding is a process in which teachers provide specific help to pupils while they learn and develop a new concept or ability. And lastly, number 13, provide opportunities for more experts and less experts participants to learn from each other. Recognizing how diverse parts of complex systems affect one another, collaborative learning has been found to increase students' confidence and self-esteem, while also developing higher-level thinking skills. Group projects can improve social and interpersonal skills while also maximizing educational experience by showcasing that material.
Constructivist classrooms focus on students' questions and interest. They build on what students already know. They focus on interactive learning and are students-centered. Teachers have a dialogue with students to help them construct their own knowledge. They root in negotiations and students work primarily in groups. The typical rule of students in classroom constructive approach begin in the learning process with predetermined sets of ideas, prior experience, and knowledge. By actively participating in their own learning, they can challenge, explore, and recreate this preconception with new ideas and concepts. For example, an elementary school teacher presents a classroom problem to measure the length of the Mayflower. Rather than starting the problem by introducing the ruler, the teacher allows students to reflect and construct their own methods of measurement.
Social constructivism in the classroom, reciprocal teaching, where a teacher and 2 to 4 students form a collaborative group and take turns leading dialogues on a topic. Within the dialogues, group members apply 4 cognitive strategies. First, the questioning. The second, summarizing. Third, clarifying. And lastly, the predicting. This creates a ZPD in which students gradually assume more responsibility for the material and through collaboration forge group expectation for a high level thinking and acquire skills vital for learning and success in everyday life. Next, cooperative learning. More expert peers can also explore children's development as long as they adjust the help they provide to fit the less mature child's ZPD. Situated learning. As early as 1929, concern was raised Whitehead that the one students learn in school resulted in a limited, inert form of knowledge useful only for passing examinations. More recently, several theories have argued that for knowledge to be active, it should be learned. First, in a meaningful context. Second, through active learning. The general term for this type of learning activity is situated learning. Situated learning proponents argue that knowledge cannot be taught in an abstract manner, and that not to be useful, it must be situated in a relevant or authentic context. Maddox, Johnson, and Willis, 1997. Next, the anchored instruction. The anchored instruction approach is an attempt to help students become more actively engaged in learning by situating or anchoring instruction around the interesting topic. The learning environments are designed to provoke the kinds of thoughtful engagement that helps students develop effective thinking skills and attitudes that contribute to effective problem solving and critical thinking. Anchored instruction emphasizes that need to provide students with opportunities to think about and work on problems and emphasizes group or collaborative problem solving. Other things you can do. First, encourage team working and collaboration. Next, promote discussion or debates. Another one is set up study groups for learning. Next, allocate a small proportion of grades for peer assessment and train students in the process and criteria. Next one, show students models of good practice in essay writing and project work. Be aware of your own role as a model of the way things are done. Be explicit about your professional values and ethical dimensions of your subject.
Assessment, according to Constructivist, should be used to improve both the student learning and the teacher's knowledge of the student development. It should not be utilized as means of enforcing responsibility or demoralizing kids. Reflective journals, portfolio, case studies, group-based project, presentation, verbal or poster, debates or rule acting, and other types of evaluation are all connected with this epistemological viewpoint. Within social constructivism, particularly, there is greater scope for involving students in the entire process. Criteria, method, marking, and feedback. Brooks and Brooks, 1993, stated that rather than saying no, when a student does not give exact answer being sought, the constructivism teacher attempts to understand the student's current thinking about the topic. Through non-judgmental questioning, the teacher leads the student to construct new understanding and acquire new skills.